Hi, my name is Colette Rabba, and I'm with Orion Realty. I'm a residential real estate broker in the GTA West, an income property specialist, and an investor myself. The reason why Araceli and I like to do this show is because we're both investors and we love to give great information to viewers and listeners just like you.
Welcome everyone, this is Araceli and I'm here with my partner Colette. In this week's chat, we have a very interesting subject, and it is how to get better tenants. Colette, can you introduce yourself and start with the subject?
Of course I can. Hi everyone, my name is Colette Rabba. I am a residential real estate broker in the GTA. I like working West End, and I like working with all kinds of people. And my specialty, or one of my specialties, happens to be helping landlords. And that's something that I feel they need as much help as tenants do, because they need to know the law, they need to know what they can say, what they can't say, what they can ask, what they can't ask, human rights laws, blah, blah, blah. I know I'm making light of it, but it can be quite serious, and you really want to keep yourself, landlord, safe, and you want to make sure that you pick the best tenants, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I just wanted to point out that in Canada, the laws are more favorable to tenants than they are to landlords. In the States, it's not as much, right?
Yeah. I just want to correct you. I don't know if it's all of Canada or just we know Ontario really well. And
I know Ontario. Okay, so yeah, let's just say that it's Ontario. But I would think that in general, that would be true for the country of Canada. In the US as well, I am very familiar with the Ohio market, and the laws are a little bit different and are a little bit more lenient. And remember, you always have to keep track of records that you have spoken or given warnings, or if you have anything that you are giving to the tenants, you have to keep track of that. So important. Doesn't matter what country, you have to have that if you want to have the due process more quickly.
Right. And even saying like my specialty is in landlords and helping landlords. I can't promise that the tenant is 100% wonderful and spectacular, because things do happen in people's lives. And sometimes, especially during COVID, when, let's say, their businesses have suffered and they can't pay rent. So there are ways of managing a tenant and keeping track of them or keeping in touch with them, and really remembering that you're both human beings and you can both talk before you have to start sending them notices and eviction notices and all that stuff. So, but before all that nonsense, we have a great way. Really 3 simple steps that you have to keep in mind when you want to select a really good tenant. So should we go?
Yeah.
Tell everyone what our secrets are?
Well, I don't know if you want to tell them the secrets. We're going to have to kill a lot of people, all right?
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, okay, and believe it or not, like, I'm not saying this because I am a realtor, but the first real tip is to hire a realtor for actually more than 2 reasons. But the main 2 reasons is, number 1, because they put it on MLS. So the marketing is taken care of your property. They will take pictures of the property. They will talk to tenants. I don't even show a property until I have a good idea who the tenant is when they call me, if they call me directly. So the second thing about hiring a realtor is we also have to deal with other realtors that they, just like a buyer may not go directly to the listing agent or the selling agent. They have their own agent. So if someone comes to me with an agent for the rental unit, I can ask those questions of the agent. How do you know them? How long have you known them? Are they vetted? What kind of income do they make? All these things that they've already had that explanation, and they know who they're representing. So that's a very good sign to actually deal with other agents when you want to find a tenant. So usually the payment for a landlord to find a tenant is 1 month rent. So either the listing agent, if they find the tenant, they get both sides, or if you have 2 agents, it's only a half month rent. So imagine, like, the value that you're getting for that is totally worth it. I've never had one landlord saying, oh my gosh, your fees are too high. Never. because of what we do, we vet the tenant and we tell them, listen, this is the detail, this is who they are, I've met them, I've talked to them in person, and it's really quite specialized. So that's number one. Number two is do your due diligence. So that means when you get the rental application, even before you have an offer or before you sign the offer, make those phone calls. Call the previous tenants, or sorry, the previous landlords that they've had. Call their references, even if they're friends. Ask those questions. Ask those really tricky questions, and pay attention to what how they answer and what the answers are. Because a lot of previous tenants, previous landlord, if the previous landlord says, oh yeah, they're great, just take them. And then
that's not a good sign.
Yeah, there's like, okay, well, can you elaborate on that? Like, tell me more details. And then once you're friendly and you talk and really get to it, and some landlords will be outright and really say, oh my gosh, run, do not take these guys, they're this and that, and they'll tell you. So it's really, you really have to use, diplomacy when you talk to the previous landlord.
Right wording as well, because sometimes if somebody wants to get rid of a tenant, they could tell you, oh yeah, they're wonderful, because they just want to get rid of them.
Right.
And then you don't know. So it's just you have to kind of read between the lines and see what it is.
Well, and that's exactly what number 3 is. So use your instincts. And I think that might be the most important thing, because I'll tell you a little story. So here is somebody who doesn't really look the part, but they told me, and I won't even say it's a man or a woman. They told me they are, they have this very good high-paying job. They send me all the paperwork. They send me everything. Everything looks great on paper. And the reason that they moved out is because the landlord is selling the property. And that, honestly, I think everybody, the last, let's say 5 tenants, the last 5 tenants that I've vetted.
It happened to me.
Right, it happened to you too. So it's because the market is so hot that landlords are like, listen, I can make a ton of money. Why am I going to go and keep renting? I'm not going to see this kind of return for the next 10 years. So I might as well sell it now, have the cash in my hand, and do whatever with it and just get out of the market. So that's what people are doing. So the tenants that have been coming to me say, landlord is selling the house. So when I call the landlord and say, hey, what's the deal? And they say, oh, they're great. You don't even know who you're actually phoning. So using a realtor, I can actually see who's on title of the house, make sure that's the right person, the actual person who's the landlord that I'm speaking to on the phone. I look up the phone number. I make sure it's not my friend. Do you remember Seinfeld?
Yep.
Remember Vandalay Industries? And then Jerry would pick up the phone. So that happens. So this actually happened with me. So I had a person come and say they're this person. The paperwork looks really good. I phoned the landlord or the landlord. Landlord turns out to be a friend of hers that I found out later. It wasn't the landlord at all. Of course they said, yeah, she's great. They're great. Oh, sorry. They're great. I blew it. But then I went a step further. I looked up the listing. I had the address of their house. I looked up the listing. I called the listing agent. And I said, hey, can you please tell me about the people that lived there when you sold the house, or, if you're still selling the house, whatever the process. I can't remember. I think it was already sold at that point. Tell me about the person that lived there. They gave me a whole different story of what that person was like.
Wow.
So things like that, the 3 of them have to do with one another. Hire a realtor that can do that research, that knows that you can go and say, hey, listen, can you please make that phone call? Can you please do the due diligence for me? Not every realtor does it. But, in this case, I did because something smelled fishy. My instincts.
So you were using your instincts in this case. And it's true. Sometimes things look, but there's just one piece of paper that it says, this looks too good to be true. Something doesn't match up. So. Right.
Well, and even to go one step further to say, okay, this is your company. And it's a she now. She gave me a paper that said, this is the company I work for, and I Google mapped it. And there is no such company. I went online to see if I could find this company. Made a phone call to the company to see if it was actually a real company. Didn't exist. Nobody was on the other line. Not even a machine to say, hi, you've reached ABC, whatever. Didn't even happen. So that's why due diligence is important. Use your instincts and use a realtor, because honestly, we are professionals. Well, most of us are professionals. Hard to say, but honestly,
I wanted to say something here when it comes down to hiring a realtor, especially in Canada, in Ontario. We don't have a lot of access to know who owns the property, some of the other little things that we need to find out about, who's involved, all of that kind of stuff. It's a lot harder to find. In the US, we have a little bit more access.
Right.
But you don't want to be playing around with it, trying to find out who owns the house while you can hire a realtor. Really, what they do for the price that they charge, it's like don't even think about it, because you'll have a much better tenant and it's vetted before. And of course, you always have to be in agreement with it. It's also has to be matched up with what you want, right? Not only what the realtor presents to you, but that is a huge layer of protection to you. The same, like you can never really decide how long the tenant is going to be good, because some tenants start very good. And they get divorced, they lose their job, they get sick, something happens in their lives. I don't think that people plan to be bad tenants. It's just life happens.
Well, some do.
Well,
there are those.
There's
those professional. Yeah. You've heard the professional tenant term, right? So there are those people out there, and the person that I was talking to, the story I told, could have been a professional tenant, but I didn't even get it to go that far. I said, you know what, you're just not I did, honestly, the other thing too, the note for tenants, the landlord doesn't even have to tell you why you're rejected. Yeah. They have to say, thank you for applying. It's just not going to work out for whatever reason. So, and it could be on financials. It could be on they have an idea in their head. They want a double income, let's say. So it has something to do with income, because they want to make sure that they are safe, that they know if one person loses their job, the other ones can still pay. So there are all these little factors that using a realtor, we do help you, and also to write in the clauses that you might not think to write in. So also to explain what a guarantor is, if you feel that, I've had people where they're young people,
or students as well, right?
Yeah, to move in together because they want to afford the rent and they want autonomy from their parents. They just want to move out, but then they might need a guarantor. So how do you manage that? There are a lot of layers to tenant, really getting I want to say landlording, but I know people have a bad taste in their mouth when you say landlord. But honestly, if you have an income property, that's something that you have to deal with. If you're going to be a landlord, there are issues, and there are wonderful people out there. I was a renter for years. You were a renter for years. There are wonderful people out there that are renting, and they're fine renting. They make a ton of money. They just don't have the taste of having to fix this and do that and worry about taxes, and the ownership is not for them. They want to retire one day. They're saving their money, especially the way prices are these days. Yeah. They don't want to be indebted to a house. So
absolutely. Want that. Well, Colette, you have a lot of information about this. So I know that you're preparing a workshop coming soon, right?
Yeah, I'm very close.
Okay, so tell us what this workshop is for.
Sure. So you might see other income property workshops out there. And what these workshops, and Araceli and I talk about this, because all these workshops, what they are saying are, they're usually an upsell to sell a package, or to sell more courses, or to sell extra kind of mortgages or something like that. So that's not the intent for my workshop. My intent is to give really good information, just like this show, in a package for people who are either interested, they have never owned an income property, or they have an income property and they just don't know if they need to get a property manager or how to go about it. And I give great tips for clauses. Let's say if you of course I want you to use me to rent your next property, but if you can't, there's always something to learn. There's always something to be shared.
Oh, absolutely. And remember that the laws keep changing, so you have to be updated on what you cannot say, or what you need, what kind of contract you need to use, all of those kind of things. So
yeah, sorry, you see my little puppy.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Like I'm a landlord, so I like to know and have more information about it, updated information. So I will.
Yeah. You know what? And I actually offer a free little PDF when you sign up. And also, there's always information to be had. And if you want more information, I just want to make contacts so people, if they can use me as a resource to make a phone call to say, hey, we're interested in doing this, or we're not sure about that. That's what I'm here for. I love to share information. Yes, of course, I'd like to have
fantastic. Yeah.
But ultimately, it's to share information. So I'm happy.
Yeah, we're gonna be posting stuff with the actual date soon, because I think that is so super important. So try to attend. If not, then just keep in touch with Colette, and then she'll tell you when the next one will be. Okay?
Yeah, and I'll have several over the course of the year too. So it's not just the one. Once I have the one, then maybe I'll do them once a month if they're that popular. So we'll see how many people need that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Colette, for sharing these tips. I think that is a great way to get started. So just as a summary, remember, you gotta hire a realtor to get your property out there. The second thing is make sure that you vet it. You will have an extra layer of protection with your realtor, but you still have to do your due diligence. And the third one is follow your instinct. If you have something that is not quite right, like even when you talk to the tenant, you will see that the paperwork doesn't quite match up with it, then ask more questions.
But you know what? And the last thing I wanted to say was, I have landlords that say, before I sign anything, I actually want to meet them.
Yeah.
And that is wonderful because they actually see them in person. They know what kind of, they get the firsthand, one-to-one with that person to meet them, or the family that's moving into the property. So that alone is very, very good. And I really like that when my landlords ask that. And, I know you're both on your best behavior, but at least you can, look each other in the eye and say, oh, okay, we're human beings. We can have a conversation. I know who's going to move into my property. And it could be like your very precious property. It's not that, oh, it's just an income property and I don't care what happens.
Mm-hmm.
People do care about their properties.
Of course.
Yeah. And they want to know somebody who's going to be there to take care of it too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Colette, and we'll see you next time. I'm looking forward to your workshop.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like more information, or if you have any questions, please go to my website at www.coletterabba.com.